We are here to talk about the upcoming book, Lockup, Professional Wrestling in Our World, with lawyer, author, Raymond Lopez. You wrote a book, Lockup, Professional Wrestling in Our World. Being a lawyer, how did you find time to write a book, and where did the idea to write the book come from?
Great question. This was a COVID project when COVID first started, so it's been in the works for quite some time. So when COVID started, the courthouse, here, as I'm sure everywhere, shut down for months before people kind of figured out how to do it and transition to Zoom. And even when you were on Zoom, there was a lot of extra time because you didn't have to drive 30 minutes down to the courthouse. You didn't have to sit there and wait. Or if you were waiting, you were on your computer, so you could be working on other things while you were waiting. So kind of time opened up a little bit at that point. And I also needed a project to keep me from just kind of bouncing off the walls and like, what can I sink my teeth into to use all this time, because we're not going out, we're not going to work like I used to. So I just figured like, well, maybe I could try to write a book about wrestling. And that's kind of how the project started. And I've been working on it since, really since then. So it's years in the making, and we got finally so far. We took a little break after COVID opened up and things kind of got back to normal. But then I was like, man, come so far with it. I gotta finish this thing out. So that's kind of where I found the time. A lot of it was a COVID project that probably would never have found the time had all that stuff not happened.
What were some of the biggest challenges you would say in writing this book?
Well, the stories of professional wrestling have been told over and over again. A lot of the stuff and the topics that are talked about. So trying to find a way to put things in a unique, different type of perspective, something that people hadn't seen before, that was challenging. I've read a lot of professional wrestling books. I'm sure y'all have. And to me, a lot of them fall down into two categories, either biographical works or autobiographical works, or they're historical works that talk about certain periods of time. So just trying to figure out a new way, a new type of book to do that was definitely challenging.
When you reached out to us, I was like, I know I want to talk to him, because it's always interesting when you have a fan that's so dedicated that wants to make a book about it. So what can you tell people to kind of what's in this book? Like, how did you decide to present things without giving away too much?
Yeah, I think this book is kind of broken down into three things. Now, there's 13 chapters, and they're all individual one-by-one chapters. So you don't have to read them in order. You can bounce around to whatever topic you want. Now, some of the chapters are a little more academic in nature. There's one called Race in the Ring, where we explore the treatment of people of color throughout kind of the history of professional wrestling, starting from a certain point and just in the evolution now. Same thing with the women's evolution. We have a chapter called Shattering Glass, where we kind of talk about these incidences where they've had and how they've been portrayed and how they work to where they're at now. We also have a lot of what I call like fan discussion chapters. So things that guys that were just talking wrestling would do. One of them is called the Square Circle Presidents. So the premise of this chapter is, we started from 1980, we work our way up until 2024. Every 4 years, we're picking two wrestlers who are going to be basically the face of the industry, the entire industry, regardless of what promotion they're in. And then we kind of debate and we make a campaign for one wrestler, for the other wrestler. And then we kind of figure out like, well, who would be elected president in this particular year? We do that throughout the years to kind of like have a fan discussion. Some of them are talking about culture, just the general culture, but we kind of try to put them in a unique way. One's called the Kaufmans, titled after, of course, the legendary Andy Kaufman. But we have an award show about wrestling and movies and film, like, best tag team performance in a movie, best film, best documentary about wrestling, best film about wrestling, best leading actor, best supporting actor, things like that. So we break it down and we kind of just talk about some what I feel are like pivotal roles for cinema and wrestling and the intermingling of them. We also got one that's kind of on that tail about like a football draft. We're talking about the world of football, but we have almost a fantasy football style draft where we're only selecting wrestlers. And we put in some rules in place and we draw on wrestlers and we explain them why I think he would be a good wide receiver. Why would this guy be the quarterback? Who would we draft here? Who's going to be a linebacker? Who's going to be our tight end? So there's a lot of stuff in it. We talk about some of the classic matches of all time. We have a match hall of fame where we break down certain matches and talk about their legacy, the actual match, all inclusive about that.
Nothing ever going to go perfect, but it just goes really good. Everything. Would you like to do more wrestling autobiographies or maybe some other books?
Yeah, I think we have an idea of a second book, but I've kind of brainstormed it and figured out the amount of time it might take. So it might be like a 5 to 10 year project, but especially now. But yes, I've got an idea for book number 2. We'll see if it ever pans out, because I think it would be very time and labor intensive. And this one was as well. We have one where we have graphs of wrestlers kind of breaking down iconic wrestlers' careers. So there's 30 iconic wrestlers, and we break down their careers in certain ways. One, we break down what their gimmick was overall. And the other one, we break down how much time each. So we spend how much time there is as a heel and a baby face, and then we spend how much time there is each person spent as an active wrestler. Meaning we take their career and we subtract vacation times, injury times they had to step away for doing non-compete clauses, and we kind of try to put a timeline on. Okay, like Ric Flair, for instance, spent X amount of time as actually wrestling, and then we take it one step further and be like, well, how much time did he spend as a world champion, as a mid-tier champion, and how much time as a tag champion and as a lower card champion? So we put all these graphs in there. There's a lot of stuff. It took a lot of research to put all these together, but there's even, I think, the most hardcore fans would find facts and stuff that they wouldn't have known before. They wouldn't have known Ric Flair spent X percentage of his career holding that gold and this gold and overall gold. But we've done the work for you, so check out the book.
I love it. It's like a real fantasy wrestling nerd kind of vibe that I'm getting that I really want to check out. That's awesome.
This sounds like it's a book that could be geared towards hardcore fans, people that are kind of, familiar with the business. And this must be like, how excited are you now that you're on the verge of finally releasing this? Is it more of an excitement? Is it more of a nervousness? Is it a little bit of both? Because hearing the way that you described it today, this makes me want to get like the pre-order right now, because I want to see what this award show is like.
It's a combination of all feelings. I get excited, especially, we've gotten out some copies of family and friends. I'm hearing good feedback. That's always welcome. That gets you excited. That gets you juiced. But then, of course, there's those moments where you're like, man, what if nobody likes this? Those thoughts try to start creeping into your head. So, just try to be positive. And, I am by no means the absolute expert on this. It's kind of like a discussion thing. You may disagree with who I selected as the president. You may not. But I think that's kind of the fun of the book. Nobody has to agree with anything. But it's kind of gearing people to start thinking in their mind like, oh, well, he was wrong about this. He was right about that. Oh, I see what he was doing there. And yeah, there's a lot of excitement in the air. We're waiting for December to come out for the national release. So we're super excited about it and just trying to get it out there in front of fans, because I really think once the fans, as they take a look at it and describing what it is to people is a challenge. But when they take a look at it and they hear about it, I think they'll dig it. I think they'll dig it. I think it'll be a fun read for them.
100%. And I wouldn't doubt that you're going to be successful because, you wrote the book when you had time. You're already thinking about a second book. So even if it doesn't pop off the way you thought, you're already in that positive mindset. And you can't really worry about how something's going to do. You put out the best possible product you can, the thing that you find interesting, and then it will find an audience out there. So we're excited for, the release of this book. If somebody's watched this interview and they are somehow on the fence about buying this book, which if you're on the fence, you're wrong. You have to go out there. You got to pre-order it. You got to let the publisher know. You got to let Amazon know that they're ready. Ray, if you can give us one last big sell on the book, tell us why it would be a mistake not to buy Lockup.
Well, I think the main thing is that this is a very different type of book that people are not used to. They're going to find it and they're going to like it. We've got everything in there from illustrations to timelines to graphs to charts, all kinds of things for the fans to sink their teeth into and enjoy, and just to think about wrestling and enjoy their love of wrestling. I think this book is really going to bring this out. It's going to be a nice, fun, casual read. You can bounce around from chapter to chapter and read it as you like. You may be more interested in the Match Hall of Fame or we have a Tournament of Jericho where we're pitting different versions of Jericho from different points in his career against each other and trying to figure out which is the ultimate Jericho. So there's a lot of different things that I think people will be excited about and interested and fun. It'll be a fun book, and it's full of some great illustrations. Our illustrator, Eduardo Romero, did a fantastic job with these drawings. So check it out, and I think you'll be pleased.
And where can the people order it, and where can they find you?
Pre-orders are available on the publisher's website. You can go to mascotbooks.com. Just look for Lockup there, and you can find it. I believe the Amazon link is now also up. So you can find Lockup on Amazon as well. You can find me on Lucha Lockup on the old Twitter machine or X or whatever you want to call it. Just look for me at Lucha Lockup. If anybody wants a signed copy, hit me up there, slide into the DMs, and we can make that happen for you.
Thank you for joining us, and good luck with it. I can't wait to read this one, and I can't read the next one. Have a good day.
Thank you, guys. It's been a pleasure.